Yeah. 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 Anyway.
Okay.
I'm
ready when you
yeah.
I'm just
Okay.
Yeah. Well, let's see what presentation.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Committee of Adjustment for Friday, June 6, 2025. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that we are working on the lands traditionally occupied by Indigenous people. Indigenous people continue to care for this land and continue to shape our township. We show our respect and will continue to honor the treaties that were signed as we consider our decisions and actions. Before we begin, I would ask members of the committee if there are any declarations of pecuniary interest or conflict of interest. Seeing none, we've had the opportunity to review the minutes of our May 9th meeting, and I have a resolution moved by Member Matthews, seconded by Member Rivet. Be it resolved that the Township of Georgian Bay Committee of Adjustment approves the minutes of May 9, 2025 as circulated. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you. The motion is carried. This morning, there is a public meeting scheduled for 1 consent application and 2 minor variances. If you wish to be notified as to the decision of the application on the agenda, please add your information to the contact list provided here, or you can also register online. I will briefly summarize the procedure to be utilized for the meeting this morning. First, the clerk will advise the committee as to when, how, and to whom notice of each of the hearings was circulated for the applications being considered. Next, each of the applications will be considered separately. Planning staff will advise as to the purpose and effect of the applications and provide any other information that is relevant. The clerk will summarize all correspondence on file, and from there the applicant may have a brief presentation if they so choose, and the public will have an opportunity to speak to the applications being considered. After the public forum, the committee will then deliberate on the proposed applications and consider a motion to pass, defeat, or defer the decisions. The consent application being considered this morning is B25-02, and the minor variance applications are A25-24 for 109 Corrievale Road and A25-22 for 6992 Go Home Lake Shore. To the planner, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I could just take a moment.
If I may finish the public meeting script.
Yes.
And then we can go to the planner. That would be lovely.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay. So notice of each application was sent by first-class mail to the respective owners and assessed persons within 120 meters, 500 meters, or 800 meters, and to those persons and agencies likely to have an interest in the application. The notices were sent at least 20 days prior to this morning's meeting. Included in each notice was an explanation of the purpose and effect of the application and a key map showing the location of the property. Other relevant information may have also been provided. These circulations were provided in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act.
Thank you. And to the planner, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of committee. At this point, before I get into this application, I'd like to introduce to you our planning student for the summer. His name is Russell Scarrow. He's currently enrolled at the University of Toronto in architecture and planning, and he's a Perry Sound boy, so he's got some great knowledge and stuff to bring to our team, and we've got some projects lined up for him for the summer. So I just wanted to introduce you, and you'll be seeing his face around the office. And then on to the first application, which is B2502. If I may share my screen. As stated, the first application on the agenda is application B 2502 for 16 Ellery Road. The property known as 16 Ellery Road is comprised of 1.56 hectares with a frontage on Georgian Bay of 52.84 meters. The property is made up of granite rock, and access to the property to the west is provided across this lot in the form of an easement. The property is also part of the Honey Harbor Coastal Waterfront Community, and Section F58 applies to all development within that designated area. The creation of an easement across the subject lands will provide services to the area. The proposed easement will have an area of 247.36 square meters and will be in favor of Hydro 1 for hydro lines. A reference plan has been created and registered for the subject easement as Parts 3, 4, 5, and 6, Plan 35R 27517. The new easement, when created, will become part of the legal description of the lands the easement is crossing. Consent may be permitted for technical or legal reasons, such as a boundary adjustment, lot additions, easements, right-of-ways, validation of titles, or other similar purposes that do not result in the creation of a new lot. As this is a very straightforward application, the Committee of Adjustment does have options when it comes to this application. They can approve the application as presented, they can deny the application, or defer the application to a later date if additional information is required. Staff do recommend approval of the application based on a review of the relevant policies, as a proposal for the creation of an easement for hydro lines is consistent with the provincial planning statement, meets the intent of the District of Muskoka official plan, Township of Georgian Bay official plan, and will be in conformity with the zoning bylaw. Staff are of the opinion that the application has appropriate regard to Section 53 of the Planning Act and represents good planning. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the applicant present? Do they wish to add anything to the planner's comments? Okay, seeing no one, is there any member of the public who would like to comment on this application? All right, no public comment. I'll close the public portion of the meeting and bring the application before the committee for any questions or comments. And I see no hands raised online or here. So if there are no questions, I will read the resolution. It is moved by Member Rivet, seconded by Member Predko. Be it resolved that the Township of Georgian Bay Committee of Adjustment hereby grants provisional approval to consent application B25-02 for the creation of an easement in favor of Hydro 1, being parts 3, 4, 5, and 6 of Plan 35R 27517, subject to the following conditions. 1, that the owner provide a property tax certificate or correspondence from Township Financial Services indicating that all property taxes have been paid to date with respect to the properties subject to this decision. 2, that a copy of the deposited reference plan be provided to the Secretary Treasurer. And 3, that a draft transfer by a solicitor and submitted to the Secretary Treasurer in preparation of the creation of the certificate of official describing the easement to be created by the consent. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you. The motion is carried and the application is approved. Our next application is minor variance application A25-24 for 109 Corrievale Road. To the planner, please.
Sorry, I thought we were doing A22. It's A25-22 next, is it not?
Well, we could.
Oh, it's in reverse order. Okay, I apologize. That's okay. I can bring up the other one. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next item on the agenda is application A25-24 for 109 Corrievale Road. The subject property is a new lot at 109 Corrievale Road, which was created by consent in 2023. The lot is comprised of 1.25 hectares with a frontage on Corrievale Road of 80.42 meters.
Sorry, Ms. McCabe,
was
could
part of
you
a
change
site-
your screen? I'm seeing 25-22 on the screen.
It's
Sorry to
not.
interrupt.
I don't know what's going on then.
You can stop sharing.
Oh.
Ah, thank you.
Sorry about that. I apologize for that. As stated, the property was part of a site-specific zoning bylaw amendment application in 2023, which rezoned the entire parcel at the time known as 87 Corrievale Road to rural exception 14, environmentally protected wetlands and environmentally protected type 2. The sensitive land features were identified through an environmental impact study, and as such, areas of the newly created parcels are identified as EPW and EP2. The subject property has a rugged topography, including a significant protected rock face to the rear of the location of the proposed building area. This natural feature, which was identified during the environmental impact study, poses limitations on the buildable area of the subject lands, particularly in terms of the depth of the lot. The owners are applying for a reduction in the minimum front yard setback in the rural zone due to the constraints on the property. Efforts have been made by the applicant to preserve the natural environment and minimize site disturbance by positioning the dwelling and garage in a location that respects the environmental constraints and intended residential use of the property. It is the owner's intent to retain as much vegetation as possible and will only require the removal of a very limited number of trees to establish the proposed building envelope. The minimum lot frontage and the minimum lot area requirements were reduced specifically for the creation of the new lot development. The proposed lot is suitable for residential development, and only a small portion of each parcel that was created by consent would require site alteration, which may entail some tree removal. All areas identified to have sensitive features throughout the environmental impact study exercise are protected with the implementation of the appropriate zoning. No site alteration will be permitted within these areas. The proposed dwelling with attached garage will be entirely within the RU14 portion of the property and is to be located in an area as to not disturb any of the sensitive land features. The reduction in the minimum front yard setback will still provide an adequate front yard between the proposed dwelling and the road allowance. The single detached dwelling with an attached garage is to be comprised of 223.34 square meters, which is an average size home to be incorporated into a property that is heavily treed and is 1.25 hectares in size. The owners are being very diligent on the placement of the proposed structure due to the sensitive land features identified and the required area needed for a septic system. As the subject property has a site-specific zoning as well as environmental constraints, staff are recommending that the owners enter into a minor variance agreement to incorporate the requirements of the EIS prepared by Burke's Natural Heritage Consultants dated March 2023. Due to the constraints in the property, the only viable option for the applicant is to apply for a minor variance for a reduction in the minimum front yard setback required in the rural zone. The committee can either approve or deny any one of the requested variances, and at this point there's only one, and the committee can defer the application to a later date if additional information is required. Planning staff have completed a detailed analysis of the application and are recommending approval subject to the recommended conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, has there been any correspondence in this application?
One letter was received from Kelly Nicholson, Chief Building Official, stating building permits will be required and the proposal will be reviewed for compliance with the Ontario Building Code.
Thank you. Is the applicant present, and do they wish to add anything to the planner's comments? Okay, thank you. Is there any member of the public who wishes to address the committee on this application? Seeing none, I will close the public portion and bring the application before the committee for any questions or comments. And if there are, please signify by raising your hand. Member Predco, please.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I had the opportunity earlier this week to do a site visit with Member Jarvis, who isn't here today, and both of us, I think, appreciated that they are using the envelope that's available to them as well as they can. They're not going to be interfering with the rock formations and the with the wetlands. And I think that the front setback reduction that they're asking for is reasonable. The only other comment I wanted to make while we were out there was that Google Maps had the wrong location for the property. They underestimated the distance, and we used Apple Maps, and they overestimated the distance. So it would have it was great that there was a sign out front, because otherwise we were looking at the wrong people's properties. So that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Member Predko. If there are no further questions, I will read the resolution. It is moved by Member Matthews, seconded by Member Rivet. Be it resolved that the Township of Georgian Bay Committee of Adjustment approves minor variance application A25-24 to zoning bylaw 2014-75 as amended by bylaw 2023-083 for 109 Corrievale Road to seek relief from the zoning bylaw to facilitate the construction of a new single detached dwelling with an attached garage and a reduced front yard setback from the permitted 20 meters to 12 meters with the following conditions. First, that the owner provide a property tax certificate or correspondence from Township Financial Services indicating that all property taxes have been paid to date with respect to the property that is subject to this decision. Two, that the proposed new single detached dwelling is substantially and proportionately in conformity with the dimensions as set out on the application and sketches submitted and approved by the committee. Three, that the owner enters into a minor variance agreement with the Township of Georgian Bay to incorporate the requirements of the environmental impact study prepared by Burke's Natural Heritage Consultants, being project 02-021-2021, dated March 2023. And four, that the appropriate zoning certificate and building permit be obtained within 3 years from the date of decision from the township, only after the committee's decision becomes final and binding. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you. The motion is carried and the application is approved. Our second minor variance application is A25-22 for 6992 Go Home Lake Shore. To the planner, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Application A25-22 is for 6992 Go Home Lake Shore as stated. The subject property, known as 6992 Go Home Lake Shore, is comprised of 0.53 hectares with a frontage on Go Home Lake of 48.16 meters. The majority of the lot is tree covered with mature vegetation and includes a single detached dwelling which was constructed in 1962. According to MPAC, there are also 2 cabins, with one being built in 1965 and the other in 2016, as well as a shed. Based on the size of the property, I thought it would be beneficial just to note that because the property is less than 1 hectare, only 1 sleeping cabin is permitted on the property. The property is currently zoned as shoreline residential type 1 in the Township of Georgian Bay zoning bylaw. The owners would like to remove the existing deck, which currently provides access to the dwelling, and replace it with a new deck, which is slightly larger than the current structure. The new deck will also provide direct access to the addition, which includes a sliding door that was approved by a minor variance, being file A2206. The proposed deck is to be 55.46 square meters, whereas the existing deck is 23.78 square meters, and will incorporate stairs that will provide access to the water side of the dwelling and the front yard. This proposal will result in a slight further reduction in the front yard setback and an increase in the deck projection and the floor area of the existing deck. The enlarged deck will be the same height as the existing deck and will provide direct access, as stated, to the addition that has been constructed on the southeast side of the existing dwelling. The deck will also provide greater accessibility to the dwelling from the yard. Although the front of the dwelling will be slightly modified visually from the lake, however, there will be no adverse effects to any surrounding properties and will complement the front of the dwelling. The original variance in 2022 permitted the expansion of the legal non-complying dwelling in order to construct an addition to the structure. A sliding glass door was incorporated into the design. The construction of the new deck will provide direct access to the addition, whereas the existing deck does not. As the proposed deck is only extending 0.6 meters further into the front yard than the existing deck, it will be still 9.6 meters from the high water mark and will have no impact on the identified fish habitat type 2. Reviewing the application in detail and after visiting the site, it does not appear that any substantial vegetation or trees will need to be removed to accommodate the new deck. There is one tree that will need to be removed, however, it is due to the fact that it is leaning and would have need to be removed whether the deck is constructed or not. The committee can either approve or deny any one of the requested variances. The committee can defer the application to a later date if additional information is required. Planning staff have completed a detailed analysis of the application and are recommending approval subject to the recommended conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, is there read correspondence in this application?
One letter was received from Kaylee Nicholson, Chief Building Official, stating building permits will be required, and 2 letters of support were received from Karen and James Mateff and Mike Stocko.
Thank you. Is the applicant or their agent present, and would they like to address the committee?
Good morning. My name is Victoria Hoffman here on behalf of Flow Drawings and Design at 3 Violet Drive, Port Severn. This application is just for an expanded deck from what they have right now. As Deb mentioned, there was an addition put on, and they're just looking to kind of take the deck across the face of the complete structure now. And then the projection is because instead of 8 feet, they're hoping for 10 feet just to make it a more functional deck structure. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer them. But
okay, thank you very much, Ms. Hoffman. Is there any member of the public that wishes to address this committee? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public portion, bring the application before the committee for any questions or comments. And, I'm sorry. Member Matthews, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a comment. I'm wondering why the applicant wouldn't have made the deck part of the renovation when they put a patio door in the first place. But,
yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't part of the addition application or drawings. I'm not sure if it was an afterthought or probably could have been all one minor variance too.
could have been all one is all I'm thinking. But I'm sure if you were there, Victoria, it would have been handled. Thank you.
Are there any further questions or comments?
Mike, Mr. Chair.
Your mic is off.
Mike, Tom, can you turn your mic on, please?
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. I will read the resolution. It is moved by Member Matthews, seconded by Member Schmidt. Be it resolved that the Township of Georgian Bay Committee of Adjustment approves minor variance application A25-22 to zoning bylaw 2014-75 as amended for 6992 Go Home Lake Shore to seek relief from the zoning bylaw to facilitate the construction of a new deck on the front of the existing dwelling with an increase in floor area as follows. Reduction in front yard setback from the 10.2 meter existing to 9.6 meters. An increase in the deck area from 23.78 square meters to 52.67 square meters. And the maximum deck projection of the front yard from 9.8 meters to 10.4 meters. Based on this, with the following conditions. 1, that the owner provide a property tax certificate or correspondence from Township Financial Services indicating that all property taxes have been paid up to date with respect to the property that is subject to this decision. And 2, that the proposed new deck be substantially and proportionately in conformity with the dimensions set out in the application and sketches submitted and approved by the committee. And 3, that the agent or owner prepares an erosion and sediment control plan satisfactory to the township, and that the plan is executed throughout the duration of the construction of the proposed development, subject to minor variance application A25-22. And 4, that the appropriate zoning certificate and building permit be obtained within 3 years from the date of the decision from the township, only after the committee's decision becomes final and binding. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you. The motion is carried and the application is approved. Thank you, everyone, for their participation in today's public meeting. I have a further resolution where it is moved by Member Ribbit and seconded by Member Schmidt. Be it resolved that the Township of Georgian Bay Committee of Adjustment does now adjourn at 10:26 a.m. until July 11, 2025 at 10 a.m. or at the call of the chair. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you. The motion is carried and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.